Teach us, dear Jesus, just to love one another, so that heaven can find a place in our hearts. Jesus is love. He won't let me down, and I know He's mine.
How y'all doing on tonight? Good evening. Good evening. Come on in.
We got to walk on, do our best to walk on through temptation.
Good to see everybody on tonight.
And His wisdom be our helping hand. And I know the truth, and His word.
We'll get started here in a few minutes.
So lift up
Good to see everybody. Sister Janetta, I see.
and be thankful.
Charlton, I see. Mom, I see. Peggy. Good to see everybody. Sharon Barnes. Elma and Rhonda Barnes. Good to see y'all. Let's see. Good to see everybody. Talitha, Link. Good to see you. Yeah, we'll get started right here in a few minutes. Give some people some time to get on.
In my heart,
This lesson will certainly bless you.
in my heart,
I'm not going to keep you long. Not going to keep you long.
forever. In my heart, by the side of
We'll get started right here in a couple minutes.
teach us
Chad Settle, good to see you.
just to love one another,
Who else is on here? Miss Parks,
so that heaven
Miss Huggins Hips, Sharon Barnes.
place
Good to see you. Sharon Baxter, Cornelia Gooch. Amen. I hope the volume is on. Can y'all hear? Is the volume on? Is the volume good? Gretchen Ellison, good to see you. Yeah, so y'all come on in.
In my heart, and we got to walk on.
Little Blighty, good to see you.
Best to walk on through temptation. And His love
We're about to get started, y'all.
be our helping hand. And I know the truth, and His word.
Genesis chapter 3 is where we're going to be. Genesis chapter 3.
So lift up your heart.
Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3 is where we'll be tonight. Verses 1 through 6. Genesis chapter 3. Verses 1 through 6. The Bible records these words. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, has God said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God does know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and she did eat. I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. For those of you who don't know, this is part 4. This is week 4 in a series of studies entitled, The Devil Made Me Do It. And tonight is the final lesson in this series of studies. All good things must come to an end, but I'm glad you tuned in tonight. Tonight, the subject is entitled, this lesson is entitled, Falling into Temptation. Falling into temptation. So feel free, do me a favor, go ahead and share this with your friends, family, and loved ones. Go ahead and share this. This will certainly bless them. And this lesson will bless you as well if you will apply these principles to your life. Like I said, this is the last lesson in this series of studies, and we'll start a new series on next Wednesday. But tonight, we want you to participate. Get ready to type some notes, write some notes, whatever the case may be. Feel free. Make any comments that you want to make. Feel free on tonight. We're going to have a great time in the Lord. All right. So, point number 1. All right. My first point on tonight, I have 6 of them tonight. It won't take me long to get through them, but we have 6 points for you tonight. I hope, trust, and pray that this lesson will bless your life. Point number 1, I want you to understand. The first step to moral failure begins with temptation. The second step to moral failure is when we think we're strong enough on our own to resist temptation. I hate to burst your bubble on tonight, but we are not. We are not strong enough to fight the devil off on our own. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 12, it states, wherefore, let him that thinks he stands take heed, lest he fall. So tonight, if you're here, I hope you're listening intently. Thank you, Brother Platt. Tonight, we're going back to the Garden of Eden. Eve could give us a step-by-step document explaining how she fell into temptation and how we can avoid temptation. Let me tell you something on tonight. Let me tell you something about temptation. Temptation hasn't changed much since the garden. The devil's tactics are the same. The principles involved are identical. The only thing that has changed is the bait. The only thing that has changed is the bait. Just in case you did not know, you and I, we are the bait today. Our forbidden fruit may not be hanging on a tree, but it's still off limits. Somebody do me a favor. Somebody type in the comments, off limits. Off limits. This evening, I want to look at the lessons we can learn from Eve on how to avoid moral failure by learning how to successfully deal with temptation, by not falling into it. And let me quickly add that it's not a question of if temptation will come in our lives. The only question is when it will come, how it will come, and our response to it. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse number 13, Jesus gives us a very pointed promise concerning temptation when he said, no temptation has overtaken you, except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation, he will also make a way, or make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. This evening, this is going to bless your life. This is going to bless you today. This evening, I want to look at this historical account of Adam and Eve and find God's plan for us on how to successfully deal with the temptations we will experience in life. Okay? So are y'all ready? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you're ready. If you're ready to take some notes, I want you to know that my first point is this, okay? We reduce temptation, okay? We reduce temptation by avoiding the place of temptation. Somebody type for me. Avoid the place of temptation. Have you ever wondered why God put the forbidden tree in the middle of the garden? Have you ever thought about, or have you ever wondered about the significance of the placement of the forbidden tree? In my humble opinion, this was no accident. God could have put the tree anywhere in the garden, but I believe, this is only my opinion. Did y'all hear what I said? This is only my opinion, but I believe that God chose that spot in the middle of the garden because he wanted Adam and Eve to know exactly where the forbidden tree was so they could avoid it. Listen to me, friends. If we know where the temptation is, we can avoid it. Listen to me on tonight. successful people have learned that one of the keys to being successful is not putting yourself in a position to fail to begin with. Stephen Covey, I don't know if y'all know him or not. He died in 2012, but he was an educator. He was a successful businessman. He was an author amongst many other things, but in one of his books entitled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, in that book, he teaches that whenever a person starts to do something, he or she must do so with the end in mind. Before we do anything in life, hear me and hear me well. Before we do anything in life, it would do us well to take a few minutes to think out what the outcome may be if we do this or if we do that. And we must also write on the blackboard of our mind that there are consequences to our actions. Are y'all out there on tonight? Somebody type consequences to our actions. Did y'all understand what I'm saying? Do y'all know? I'm sure that we've all lived long enough to understand that there are consequences to our actions. Listen to me on tonight. Listen to me on tonight. It is easier to avoid temptation than to overcome it. It is easier to avoid temptation than it is to overcome it. Adam and Eve knew where the tree was. Therefore, if they would avoid being where it was, then its fruit would not tempt them. Let me say that one more time. Adam and Eve, they knew where the forbidden tree was. So if they avoid the tree, they would never have to worry about falling short of the glory of God. There's a story about a man who came to a doctor one day and said, "Doc, I broke my arm. I broke my arm in 2 places. What should I do, Doc? What should I do? Doc, I broke my arm in 2 places. What should I do, Doc?" The old doctor told the man, "Stay out of those places." Oh, y'all get that sometime tonight. Stay out of those places. Listen, we get in trouble many times when we hang around the wrong places. Listen to me tonight. Temptation usually begins with a thought to go to a certain place. The temptation began for Eve when she decided to take a trip to the middle of the garden. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that, well, the tree of life was also in the middle of the garden. But I want you to know on tonight, that wasn't why Eve was going to the middle of the garden. Not on this particular occasion. She went to look at the wrong tree. She went to inspect the wrong fruit, and thus she entered into temptation. In Luke chapter 11 and verse number 4, Luke chapter 11 and verse number 4, Jesus taught us to pray. He taught us to pray, lead us not into temptation. Now let me clear this verse up. We've already learned that God does not tempt us. Somebody type in the comments, who does the tempting? Who is it that does the tempting? We've already learned that Satan does the tempting. So this verse does not mean that God is leading us into temptation and we must beg him to stop doing it. That is not what that verse means. So what does this verse mean? I'm so glad you asked. This verse means that God can lead us in such a way that we will avoid the areas of temptation in our lives. Lord have mercy. Let me paint a picture for you. If you don't mind, a preacher once counseled a man that had a drinking problem. Every day on his way home from work, the man would stop at the bar. He would stop at the bar. The bar was on his way home from work. And every day he would stop there. The man told the preacher, I don't know what to do, preacher. Every day I pass this bar on my way home and I stop and I go in there. Preacher, what should I do? The preacher told him, find another way home. Can I be real with y'all tonight? Can I be real with y'all tonight, Facebook? I'm telling you that it is better to avoid the place of temptation. I got to make this plain for you. Can I make this plain for you tonight? Listen, if you are tempted by food, anybody out there think about food and every minute of the day, there's an old saying that says we should eat to live, not live to eat. Y'all do know that y'all do know that gluttony is a sin, right? Y'all do know that, right? So if you are tempted to overeat, you know what you should do? Stay away from the buffets. Yeah. Stay away from the old country store. Where y'all at, Jackson? Stay out of Brooksy's barn. You know that food is your weakness. You tend to overeat. Stay away from the temptation. Nashville, y'all in the house tonight. Stay out of Golden Corral. That's my spot right there, y'all. Amen. But if food is my weakness, the best way to avoid overeating, if overeating is my weakness, my best bet is to avoid the place. Lord, I wish I had some help tonight. My best bet is to avoid the place of temptation. Are you tempted to drink? Don't answer that out loud. Are you tempted to drink? Well, stop cashing your check at the liquor store. Get direct deposit. Tempted to do drugs? Your best bet is to avoid the place. Avoid the place of temptation. Stay away from the crack house. Stay away from your friends that do drugs. Tempted to gamble? Stay away from the casinos. And no, stop lying to yourself. Y'all gonna be real with me now. Stop lying to yourself. You are not going down there because the food is good. Not if you have an addiction to gambling. Stop saying, I'm just going down there to get some good food. No, just be real with yourself. Avoid the place. Oh, y'all not staying with me. Avoid the place of temptation. Y'all not going to like me when I say this, but this is an issue that we don't talk about in the church today. But we're going to talk about it if you don't mind. My point is this: avoid the place of temptation. There was a particular woman. She was attracted to a man who was not her husband. I think I need to slow down. She was attracted to a man who was not her. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I want you to know that women cheat too. Y'all really thought that just only men cheated? But there was a woman, y'all. She was attracted to a man who was not her husband. The other man invited this woman to his house. Oh, for a candlelit dinner. Now, keep in the black boys of your mind now, this woman knew that she was attracted to this man. So when the man invited her to his house, what do y'all think she should have done? Do y'all think she should have accepted the invitation? Or should she have stayed away from the temptation? Well, let me go on with the story. She accepted the invitation. Now remember, she accepted the invitation and she was thinking, well, it's no harm in eating dinner with someone. Well, y'all know the ending of that story. This woman cheated on her husband. She knew she was attracted to the man, but she thought she could resist the temptation. But here's my point. If she had not gone, Lord have mercy, if she had not gone to the place of temptation, she could not have partaken of something that was forbidden to her. This is another thing we don't like talking about in the church. But listen to me, y'all. If you have a sickness and you're tempted to molest children, stay away from our youth. You see, y'all like to sugarcoat stuff and don't like to face issues that's going on, but stuff like this goes on even in the church. I'm sorry, but if you have a sickness in which you are attracted, you are a grown person, but you are attracted to children, I'm sorry, but you can't be the youth minister. You cannot be the youth director. If that's a weakness. Oh, can I talk to y'all? Can I talk to y'all? I got to be real with you. Listen, tempted by pornography. Stay away from the internet sites that show that stuff. Stay away from the adult bookstores. There was a man, he said, I just went into that adult bookstore to see if they had a restroom. Really? Really? Somebody said, check this out, y'all. Somebody said they were scrolling or turning the channels, and something popped up on the TV or on the computer screen that they was not supposed to be watching. And you know what happened? They said their finger got stuck. Their finger got stuck, and they couldn't keep scrolling. They couldn't keep turning the channel. Their finger got stuck, so they had to watch it. I'm telling you on tonight that it's easier to avoid temptation than to overcome it. Here's my second point tonight. We open ourselves up to temptation when we decide to provide for the flesh. Romans 13 and verse 14 tells us to make no provision for the flesh. Someone may ask, well, Shobek, how does one provide for the flesh? I'm so glad you asked that question, friends. We make provision for the flesh when we attempt to provide for our desires in the wrong way. James 1:14 says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. We are taught to be happy, right? We should be happy, but temptation enters when we decide that we need the things of this world to make us happy. We're headed for trouble when we decide to make provisions for the flesh. Listen to these voices. If you've ever heard these voices speaking to you, it was Satan talking to you. Sometimes you might hear a voice whispering in your ear, go ahead. It won't hurt you. Nobody will ever know. Besides, you're a pretty good person. You don't do this, you don't do that. You deserve a little pleasure from life. That's the devil talking to you. When the devil has you trying to justify in your mind what you're contemplating doing, oh, you should run as fast as you can. Somebody type this for me. The battle is in the mind. The battle is in the mind. And if the devil has you debating him, you've just about lost. Listen, before we go to our third point, let me give you 3 timeless truths about sin. These things have always been true about sin and will always be true. Watch this. The first timeless truth about sin is this. Sin will always take you farther than you want it to go. No alcoholic ever thought that he would be an alcoholic when he took his first drink. No drug addict ever thought they would be addicted after one hit. The second timeless truth about sin is this. Sin will always keep you longer than you want it to stay. How many times have you heard someone say that they could quit? I can quit whenever I want to. But the sad truth is that when they decided they wanted to quit, they couldn't quit. Thank you, Miss Desiree Terry. Check this out. The third timeless truth about sin is this: sin will always cost you more than you wanted to pay. Listen to me on tonight. The wages of sin is still death. Sin still kills. It kills individuals. It kills love. It kills families. It kills relationships. It kills careers. And that brings me to point number 3 of 6. We're almost there, y'all. Y'all stay with me. My third point tonight is this: when we move into the place of temptation. This is all in the text, y'all. When we move into the place of temptation, Satan will be waiting there to tempt us. Somebody do me a favor, type, Satan will be waiting. Satan will be waiting. Isn't that right, Miss Cindy Smith? Isn't that right? Come here, y'all. Come here. When Eve arrives at the tree, Satan was already in the tree waiting. Listen to me on tonight. Satan knows which tree we love to visit. He knows what tree we love to visit. Therefore, he knows where to meet us. Satan knows how to push our buttons. Satan knows that we like certain things or we dislike certain things. Listen, Satan doesn't tempt us where we're strong. He tempts us where we are weak. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 24 says, neither give place to the devil. We're in trouble when we've justified something in our mind. You may not understand, but when we have justified something wrong in our mind, it's at that moment, it's at that instant when we've given the devil a place in our heart. But I must warn you on tonight, when we give the devil a foothold, he'll make it a stronghold. And fourthly, on tonight, we're almost there. Fourthly, on tonight, after we've entered into temptation, we become blinded to the consequences. All right, y'all ready to type? Somebody type in here for me. Type in here, blinded to the consequences. Oh, I'm trying to help you tonight. Blinded to the consequences. Let me tell you something about temptation. Sometimes temptations don't look like temptations. It's evident to me that Eve may have been observing the forbidden fruit or the forbidden tree for some time from a distance. She had justified in her mind what she was about to do. When Eve entered into temptation, she didn't even recognize it. Just listen to Eve's rationale. Listen to Eve's thought process. Oh, the tree doesn't look too harmful to me. Oh, don't that sound like us? Oh, that tree has a lot of good points. It's good for food. It looks good to me. I've been told that it will even increase my wisdom. I don't see any consequences if I eat from it. And that's my point. Temptation blinds us to the consequences. Yeah, the person with AIDS never imagined the horrible consequences. The adulterer never imagined the horrible consequences. Lord have mercy. Satan's power lies in his ability to deceive people into thinking they can get away with yielding to temptation. He makes us think we can get away with yielding to temptation without having a price to pay. One of my favorite songs says, "Yield not to temptation." Listen, there will be a price to pay, but y'all know what? The devil, he blinds us of the fact that there are consequences to our actions. My friends, there are wages to sin. My fifth point is this, if you're taking notes. Watch this. The pull of temptation. Let me say it again. The pull of temptation, it increases the closer we get to the temptation. Let me slow down so you can write this down. The pull of temptation, it increases the closer we get to the temptation. Friends, the closer Eve got to the tree, the greater the odds that she would eat the fruit. Listen to me on tonight. It's hard to pick fruit if you're 100 yards away from the tree. If I'm 100 yards away from the tree, there is no way that I can pick the fruit. But y'all know what? But it's easy if you're within arm's reach of the tree. And the closer you get, the weaker you will become. Stay away. Stay away from the forbidden fruit in your life. Stay away. Try to stay away. Try to avoid the temptation. Temptation is like Superman and kryptonite. Any Superman fans out there? Any Superman fan? Now, one thing about Superman, y'all, Superman would always make me mad because he would get beat up for the entire show and then win at the end. But that's another subject for another time. But think about the closer Superman got to the kryptonite, the weaker he became. Oh, watch this. We become weaker when we get near temptation. I don't know if any of you like comics. Any of y'all read comics or like comics? What about in the paper? They used to. I hadn't read a paper in years, but they used to have comics back there. But in the cartoon strip, Kathy, she struggled, y'all. She had a struggle. In this cartoon strip, Kathy had a struggle with her diet. So she decided to make provisions for the flesh by taking a drive. Now, in this comic strip, there are 10 frames. It starts with frame 1 and ends with frame 10. Okay? Frame 1, here's what Kathy said. She said, remember now, she had a struggle with eating the right types of food. So frame one starts off by saying, I will take a drive, but I won't go near the grocery store. I will drive by the grocery store, but I won't go in. I will go in the grocery store, but I won't walk down the aisle where the candy is on sale. Well, I'll look at the candy, but I won't pick it up. I will pick it up, but I won't buy it. I will buy it, but I won't open it. I will open it, but I won't smell it. I will smell it, but I won't taste it. I'll put it in my mouth and taste it, but I won't eat it. And y'all know what frame 10 says, munch, munch, munch. What's your point, Shobek? Here's my point. I hope you're with me tonight. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I hope you're with me tonight. The closer we get to temptation, the weaker we become. If you get close to temptation, you will most likely lose. Eve had gone to the wrong place and was considering eating the forbidden fruit, yet she had not yet sinned, but the longer she stayed in the presence of temptation, the weaker she became. And she eventually fell short of the glory of God. She made another bad decision when she tried to not do it. Let me say that again. Eve made another bad decision when she tried to not do it. Listen, you're setting yourself up for failure. I am setting myself up for failure if I decide to enter temptation with the mindset that says, well, even though temptation is right there at arm's reach, I'm strong enough to fight it. No, you ain't. No, you're not. No, you're not. I'm telling you, it's better to avoid the temptation. Let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a picture for you. And I'm almost done. A farmer saw a little boy in his apple orchard. That little boy was lying on the ground, staring up at the apples on the apple trees. The farmer said, son, are you trying to steal my apples? The boy replied, no, sir. No, sir. I'm trying not to steal your apples. Listen to me. The flesh is the wrong weapon to use to fight temptation. Matthew 26 and verse 41 teaches us, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. Watch this now. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Forbidden fruit is never as sweet as you've been told it would be. Look with me for a second at temptation's progression. Eve was in the wrong place in the garden. She was at the wrong tree. She was talking with the wrong one. Therefore, she ate the wrong fruit. That's the last step before she actually ate it. But that bite was the first and last bite she would ever enjoy. For after that came the consequences of sin. All right, y'all, here's my sixth and final point, and I'm going to let you go. Y'all stay with me. When we are full of God's fruit, we won't be hungry for forbidden fruit. When we are hungry for God's fruit, when we fill up on God's fruit, we won't be hungry for forbidden fruit. God had given Adam and Eve all the trees of the garden from which to eat. Only one was forbidden. Listen to me tonight as I close. If Eve had been eaten from the fruit that God had provided, she wouldn't have been hungry for the forbidden fruit. So it is with us today. When we eat and stuff ourselves with heavenly fruit, we will be less likely to be tempted to eat the forbidden fruit. I'm leaving you with Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16. Paul's pen records these words. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. That concludes our lesson for tonight. I certainly hope it blessed your life. Don't forget, y'all, do me a favor, share this video. Click share before you get off of here. I hope this lesson blessed you. All right. Y'all stay safe, okay? It's certainly a blessing to be in your presence. But until next time, this is Shobek Dethrow, minister of the Forest Hill Church of Christ in Selma, Tennessee. Until next time, may God bless you and may He keep you.